A battle between two counties is over on where to place a sexually violent predator, but no one wanted this outcome since the state couldn't find a suitable home. Sexually violent predator William Stevenson now set to be released on transient status.
And CBS 13 investigative reporter Julie Watts reveals many more like him are also set to get released. But where will they go?
Yeah, through a combination of court records, public records, and government reports, we've identified a recent spike in the number of sexually violent predators pending release into California communities. Which begs the question, if transient release is the only option for Mr. Stevenson, what about all the others?
I don't feel safe in my own neighborhood.
I'm still scared.
From the shores of Lake Tahoe to the suburbs in Roseville.
They should not be allowed to be in our neighborhoods where we have kids and families.
To rural Amador County.
We have relatives that are children.
Decades of concern.
Our hands are tied in a lot of ways.
Over one man.
Stevenson has already failed his conditional release.
With nowhere to go.
This is Mr. Stevenson. May I be heard briefly?
William Robert Stevenson is legally designated a sexually violent predator, or SVP, meaning he was convicted of sexually violent crimes, then diagnosed with a mental disorder which makes him likely to engage in sexually violent criminal behavior. Court records reveal a long history of treatment and reoffense. He began exposing himself to high school students in the early 80s when he said he got hooked on the behavior, on the adrenaline. It made him feel alive. His criminal sexual behavior escalated to assault in 1985 when he was placed on probation and received treatment for the first time. Then in 1990, he was convicted of 2 sexual assaults at a Tahoe beach, threatening the women with knives. Though court records show he estimated he'd committed about 20 sexual offenses before that. After serving about half his 31-year sentence, followed by more treatment at a psychiatric hospital, in 2014, doctors determined it was safe to conditionally release Stevenson in Roseville.
With view right into my home, right into my backyard to watch my children play.
He was rearrested in Roseville for possession of child pornography and sent back to the state hospital for treatment. Once again.
Other neighbors say they have plans to build a daycare or a park in the area so no sex offenders can move in the future.
Now state doctors say Stevenson is, once again, well enough for release. But this time they can't find anywhere to put him. You see, even though Stevenson's convictions were in El Dorado County, the State Department of Hospitals housed him in Placer County when he was conditionally released the first time, his so-called domicile county. But this time, neither the state's contractor, Liberty Healthcare, nor a search committee could find suitable housing in Placer County or in Sacramento County, where Stevenson has family. They must consider proximity to things like parks, schools, and victims. They did find a home in unincorporated Amador County, but due to domicile technicalities from new legislation, he's now required to stay in Placer. And because the state can't find housing,
we would prefer transient status release at this time.
His attorney requested transient release. We were allowed to record audio and take still photos at a recent hearing.
As we all, I would say, would agree, transient release is not ideal, it's not safe, it's not appropriate for anybody involved.
But since then, Judge Horst has had a change of heart and is now granting transient release. Even though the state's contractor admitted in court, SVPs on transient release have a 50% failure rate. Though, coming to his own defense, Stevenson argued if lawmakers felt transient release was unsafe, there would be a law prohibiting it.
Should there be a law?
2 lawmakers.
I think there should. There should be a law.
1 Democrat, 1 Republican.
Stevenson has pointed out that there is a gap in the law.
Senator Alvarado Gil represents both Placer and Amador counties.
My counties are rural communities where typically you see the dumping of sexually violent predators.
I don't think the legislature felt like they needed to clarify that you can't put people out on transient status.
And Placer County Assemblyman Joe Patterson says he's planning legislation.
I don't accept that they can't find housing for them. They have to find housing for them. That's their job.
And we've learned there are currently more than a dozen sexually violent predators pending release into California communities right now. The data reveals a spike, with 14 SVPs out on conditional release as of June 2021, increasing to more than 20 as of March of this year. But we've learned there are 14 more pending placement right now, which will more than double the total number of predators released in just 3 years. When we shared that data with lawmakers,
We need to figure out why there is such an increase. It's very concerning to me.
We don't know who's making the decisions. We don't know how the decisions are being made.
Department of State Hospitals tells us DSH has not done analysis on this, but lawmakers have ordered a state audit of their contractor, Liberty Healthcare. Both Liberty and the Department of State Hospitals declined interview requests, but did provide data and public records. Mr. Stevenson's attorney has not responded to our request, but it's important to note transient release does not mean he won't be supervised.
It's more difficult supervision.
Placer County DA Morgan Geyer explains there is still weekly drug screening, polygraph tests, and 24/7 GPS monitoring. But Liberty says monitoring is much easier in a fixed residence with hardwired phone and internet lines. Geyer fought to keep Stevenson from being released at all.
It's ultimately an opinion of the doctors who evaluate that person, and oftentimes we as prosecutors disagree with those assessments.
But he acknowledges at some point, if the state can't find a home, transient release becomes the only option under current law.
There are due process rights that a sexually violent predator has.
Stevenson testified he knows all the men who've failed on transient release, noting most were placed in motels where they were tempted by prostitution and drugs. Instead, the state wants to buy Stevenson an RV, but they haven't identified where they'll park it yet. The judge noting it's going to be costly, but there is no limit to the state's resources for SVPs on conditional release. In fact, taxpayers spend over $400,000 a year per released predator, leaving some, like Mr. Stevenson, with plenty of money for state-supported housing, but nowhere to go.
Now, despite the seemingly high failure rate, the state says none of the released SVPs have committed new violent crimes. DA Geyer is now pursuing legislative solutions to, among other things, ban transient release and analyze surplus state land for housing options.
Julie, thank you.